Hey guys, today I'm talking about Series 8, and Stephen Moffat has basically written a little sort of synopsis in a way about talking about each episode from Series 8, and I'm going to be talking about what he said and whether I'm going to like the episode or not. So if you don't want to know the episode titles, or you don't want to know what the story might be about, or well it is going to be about, then I suggest you probably avoid this video. But if you want to know what Moffat said, and then come back to this video and obviously watch or listen to hear my thoughts on these little teasers of the episodes. So yeah, the link to that will be in the description. So yeah, the time of Capaldi is upon us. Moffat's basically been hinting in that little teaser or synopsis that they do go down the lines about Capaldi and his previous face with like Frobisher and Carcilius or something like that, I don't know, but he used this quote saying, "Who frowned me this face?" So to me that hints that there are going to be subtle little hints about why Capaldi's face is like Frobisher's and Carcilius. So that sounds rather interesting. So how they're going to do that? I believe it's going to be a scene. I'm not sure really. I believe it's going to be a separate scene with Capaldi wandering around Victorian England or whatever, or London, sorry. Also, it mentions about an old foe, a long-forgotten foe. So does that hint at the Clockwork Droids? I really hope so, because in my Series 2 review I praised them highly. I don't know if my Series 2 review's up yet, but it should be up, because I literally just praise the Clockwork Droids. I love them. It's my favourite episode from Series 2, The Girl in the Fireplace. I just love it. So yeah, I'm really interested with Deep Breath. It's one of the episodes I'm highly anticipating. I'm really looking forward to seeing it in the cinema, because I think it's going to be very cinematic, because it's directed by Ben Wheatley, and from his work he's a very film director who's sort of made for film really. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to scope Doctor Who with this film quality. Okay, so the sort of hint for Into the Dalek is basically like Dalek. It is literally, it seems like it's going to be Dalek but with a twist, because according to this, the Doctor and Clara are going to go into the Dalek, as the title does suggest, into the Dalek, and the Dalek does become good. And that's sort of what Dalek is, the Dalek towards the end of a story. You know, when the Doctor's with the gun saying, "I'll shoot you." You know, that's when the Daleks returned good, and I think the Daleks going to be very sort of sinister and manipulative in that sense. The clips from what I've seen of it, it looks fantastic, and I cannot wait to see the confrontation between Capaldi's Doctor and the Dalek. But I still think the Daleks are in the series too early. I think, you know, possibly they could get away with episode 6 or 7, so we get a feel for Capaldi's Doctor. But I still think it's rather early, because we're not going to get the full 12th Doctor, because, you know, the character, you know, towards episode 6 or 7 the character's fully developed, and you sort of have a vague idea of what that Doctor's like. Episode 2's too soon to throw him in the deep end. Literally they're throwing him with the lions, to a matter of speak really. But I do think that it's going to be an interesting episode, and I really do hope that the Daleks regain their former glory of being terrifying, and hopefully, you know, being in the mind of a Dalek will be terrifying, so you understand how this little war machine works. I mean, if Phil Ford fails with this, I believe he's co-writing with Stephen Moffat, then the only hope for the Daleks is Nick Briggs, and Nick Briggs is fantastic at writing the Daleks. You just have to listen to Dark Eyes and read the Dalek Generation because it's a fantastic book. So yeah, Into the Dalek, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm a bit sceptical about the Daleks themselves being in the series because I was hoping for a bit of a rest, and then build up to this massive Dalek story. But yeah, it's the story I look forward to seeing. So the Robots of Sherwood seems like it is sort of Robin Hood meets Doctor Who. So I suppose they could have done that BBC adaptation of Robin Hood and merged it with Doctor Who, but that finished 5 years ago or something like that. I don't know. But it does sound interesting. The Robot Knights, I think, are in that episode. It's the only sort of logical thing I can think you can place them in. And I think it's going to be cool. I love the design of the knights. It's very Time Warrior-esque, if you know what I mean, with the Robot Knight, what Link's created. And I believe Ben Miller is going to be the villain in this, the Sheriff of Nottingham. So that'd be interesting to see his portrayal because he's a fan of Doctor Who. So it's got to be good. Yeah, not a lot I can say about this because the synopsis or little hints doesn't really give much away, but it's by Mark Gatiss and he's normally been quite consistent with writing, so it should be okay. Listen, as the teaser said with Capaldi. Now, episode 4, Listen. Now, this seems a very psychological story with lines such as, "What's that in the mirror? What's that in the corner of your eye?" You know, that sounds very psychological, and apparently this story is meant to be Moffat's crowning glory for Series 8, so I've got high hopes for it. I believe this monster, I'm not sure what the monster's going to be in this. Apparently it's this sort of weird Minotaur thing, but that may be for Time Heist, I don't know, because they were filming episode 4 and 5 at the same time, so I don't genuinely know what the monster is, but from what I'm getting, it sounds very interesting, and if it's going to be like the Silence, the monster, then I'm very much looking forward to that episode. Yeah, it just seems rather interesting, really. It sounds like it's got a bit of a night terrors with a little boy in this. So yeah, it seems like it's going to be a mix of night terrors and meets the Silence. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Okay, Time Heist seems a rather interesting one. It's set in a bank, I believe, and the monster apparently is called the Teller. It can detect guilt, so that seems rather interesting. The Doctor's never encountered, well, the Doctor cannot sort of prepare himself for this foe, so this is going to be an interesting monster. Again, psychological with using thoughts as, you know, detecting guilt. This episode I'm not really looking forward to that much. It seems okay. It's probably going to be average for me. It doesn't exactly seem like it's going to be one to scream and shout at the top of the rooftops, you know, watch Time Heist. Yeah, it just seems a rather interesting setting as in a bank, a space bank. But I suppose that sort of, I suppose there was footage in the trailer of these soldiers with these big crates getting attacked. So I think that may be Time Heist. I think I'm not 100% sure, but that's where I can sort of think it will be in. But yeah. Seems like it's going to have the rings of Akaten, you know, with the big planet, you know, sort of taking sentimental things, but this, you know, has guilt. Yeah, hopefully you guys get that sort of thing. So yeah, that's Time Heist. I'm not looking forward to this one, but I think it's written by Steve Thompson, who wrote The Curse of the Black Spot and Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS. Both okay episodes. They've nothing special really about those. So if it is written by him, then it is probably going to be bad. But Stephen Moffat has co-wrote it, so who knows what it's going to be like. I just think it's going to be average. Caretaker, that sounds rather interesting. I believe this is set in Coal Hill School, so obviously it's got to feature Danny Pinkin, and I think this links in with filming footage what we saw a couple of months ago, with Capaldi running around dressed as a caretaker with a screwdriver, you know, doing all this and that, holding the screwdriver like that. And I believe the monster in that is that owl creature called, I don't know what I know the name of the owl, but I'm just trying to think how you pronounce it. But I'm just going to leave that. I believe it's going to have the sort of owl robot thing because that was filmed at the same time as Capaldi running around. So I think that's the foe in that. It's going to be interesting to have Danny Pinkin to see more of his character, because apparently he's going to be one of the main focuses in this series, so that's going to be interesting to see. So yeah, the Caretaker, I'm sort of looking forward to it because it's a return to Cold Hill School, so yeah, I sort of am looking forward to it. So Kill the Moon, that sounds a very interesting story. When I first heard the episode title a couple of months ago, before it was actually confirmed, I was sort of like, oh, it sounds terrible, I don't like the sound of the title, but reading what Moffat actually said about it, it sounds very interesting. I mean, this sort of matches with we had some photos of Capaldi and Clara and some other characters in the spacesuits, so I can only think, yeah, I think that's for Kill the Moon. And the enemies in this sound very interesting, these spider-like creatures, so that sort of links in with the book coming out in September, I believe, The Crawling Terror with giant insects, so I think that might link in with that in some way, I don't know, but it sounds interesting. That was a story I wasn't really looking forward to, but it does sound rather exciting, but I think there may be quite a few characters in that, so the story may fall apart because of that. So I've got high hopes for it. I'm just hoping that each character does get a decent amount of screen time and developed characters. Okay, so The Mummy on the Orient Express. Now this was hinted at in The Big Bang with Matt Smith, and I genuinely believe that that was going to be that year's Christmas special, but it's come full circle and now it's become an episode for Peter Capaldi. This sounds like a very interesting episode. Again, the title made me think, doesn't sound very good, but reading about it, it sounds very interesting, and it seems like it's going to have an interesting ending, very interesting ending at all, and it seems like it's going to be interesting with the monster. You know, that you, once you've seen the foe, you have 66 seconds to live before you die, so that sounds interesting, and it has Frank Skinner in it, so it should be okay. Again, episode I wasn't looking forward to, but now reading that, I'm looking forward to it. It seems like it's going to be a great... Okay, so Flatline, this seems like it's going to be a weak story, because I think it's going to be a Dr. Light story, so I don't think it's going to be that good, really. I believe it follows on from The Mummy on the Orient Express, from the way I read it from that, so I don't think it's going to be very good. I just think it's not going to be good. I just think it's just going to be pretty poor, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they resolve the ending on The Mummy on the Orient Express, but we'll see. This Flatline, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to like it, but we'll see. Right, so episode 10, In the Forest of the Night. So this seems like an interesting story, that nature has reclaimed back the land of urbanisation and all that. So yeah, that seems like an interesting story. Now this story was originally, I believe, titled Child Play. And with the title of Child Play, I thought it was going to be something to do with a celestial toy maker because of toys and stuff like that. But reading about it now, I doubt it's going to be related to that. Yeah, I don't think it's... I think it'll be okay. But it's done by... I can't remember his name, Boyce something. And apparently he's meant to be really good, so... we'll see how he's going to write for Doctor Who. I mean, I'm going to expect, you know, average to pretty darn good. So yeah, In the Forest of Night seems like it seems interesting, and possibly could it be with the tree people from End of the World, the Forest of Cheam, is it, or something like that? I think it is. So maybe we could see a return of them. Or I'm thinking Treebeard from Lord of the Rings and the Ents. because they're giant trees will come to life. Or it could be the trees from Mark of the Rani, where you step on a mine and you become a tree. Okay, so finale. Dark Water and Death in Heaven. Now, I believe Heaven is going to be quite a prominent feature in Series 8, much like the Pandorica was in Series 5. I'm really interested with this. I'm really looking forward to the series finale because we see, from the filming pictures, a classic invasion or Cyberman head, and then we've seen the Cybermen walk down the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral. So basically it's sort of a modern take on the invasion, which I'm really looking forward to because the invasion is a fantastic story, and to have the modern equivalent of it seems rather interesting, and it has Unit in it, so it just oozes out the invasion. I'm really looking forward to it, and we have the character called Missy from the Neversphere, I believe. She's the gatekeeper, and it's going to be interesting to see what her character is going to be like, because she might be a main character. I think people have been saying that she is, but she seems quite a prominent character in the finale. So yeah, and I think the Doctor gets betrayed in this story by possibly Clara, if we just read this quote out. "You betrayed me, you betrayed my trust, our friendship and everything I ever stood for." So does that mean Clara has betrayed the Doctor? Who knows? But yeah, it seems like it's going to be a fantastic finale, and I'm really looking forward to it. So this has been my sort of overview over Moffat's sort of teasers of the 12 episodes, what we've got a little bit of information off. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next video.